What's up, YouTube? It's me, the Artisan MC, and today I'm going to review for you X-Men 97, Episode 3, Fire Made Flesh. I was waiting on this episode and I was not disappointed. You have this episode picking up with the X-Men dealing with this extra version of Jean and running tests and trying to figure out who she is and what she is. And through some clever carbonating, as it would be, from Beast, he discovered that the person that showed up on the door is the actual Jean Grey, and that the person standing in the room with the baby is actually a clone because their cell samples, one is older than the other one. Now, this brings up a bit of ire in the Jean clone to where she starts throwing a little bit of invective into her comments to Scott and some of the other team members. While she's in her room putting Nathan to bed, a voice starts coming over the baby monitor, and you get the reveal of Mr. Sinister. Now, about the same time, Beast finally figures out, when testing the samples again, that genetically, engineers have signatures, and he recognizes the signature on these genes, and it is Sinister. I have to say that I enjoyed this part of the reveal of Mr. Sinister. I liked his look. I actually didn't mind the voice so much, but it was cool how this episode turned into pretty much kind of a horror movie at most of it, because the stuff that Sinister does is pretty dark. He looks like a demon for the most part, or a vampire for the most part. So I don't have a problem with that at all. But seeing how he exerted his influence over the Jean clone, and she turned into her whole Goblin Queen attire, I was happy. I was happy. I liked the color scheme. I liked the costume. I liked that she even mentioned Inferno. I was like, yes, this is what I thought was going to happen. I'm happy. Right. And the rest of the X-Men get put through a little bit of hell dealing with um, her powers and how she is tricking them all out, making them see these creatures and stuff like that. It does turn into a freaking horror movie. It really does. Now, the X-Men kind of figuring this stuff out rely on Morph, who is going through this at the same time they are, and remembers his ordeal with Sinister from the original X-Men show, and kind of informs them on what is going on and how to find him. Now, this may seem like the speed run of this episode, but that's basically what it is that Sinister sent this clone to Scott because Sinister is obsessed with the Summers genetic code. And by using a clone of Jean Grey and sending it to Scott, he hoped to produce a child, which he did, which was Nathan Summers. And now that the child is born and the original Jean has come back to the X-Men, he calls in his marker that he has on the clone Jean, awakening her powers and making her submit to his control. And she brings her child back to him with a little bit of damage done to the X-Men on her way out the door, just to let them know what they're messing with. Now, that was awesome because I like Madeline Pryor. I do. I like Madeline Pryor as a character. She's a bit more fun because this Jean kind of cut loose a little bit. Her powers are similar, but a little bit different, being, she's the Goblin Queen, which I like that moniker. Now, Magneto is ready to go ham on Sinister because he understands that what he has done is enough. They've had it. He's leading the strike team to go to Sinister's base and put some work on him. Well, while they're on their way there, you see what Sinister has cooking up for this baby that he now has. And he puts the baby into a vat, which I think should have killed the baby because I think he just drowned the damn kid, right? But he puts him into this vat of green goo and starts releasing some stuff at the bottom and starts working on the kid because he has plans for the future and he wants to make this child invincible, not in an image way. Once the X-Men arrive, they kind of break up this whole situation, and Madeline Pryor gets to kind of cut loose on them a bit. And she does. She does kind of whoop their ass. Like, straight up. There's not too much they can do against her. She's just having a little bit of fun. But back at the mansion, Jean Grey is alerted to this pain and this stuff that's going on, and through the help of Wolverine, she starts regaining her sense of memory of who she is and whatnot, and her connection to Scott, because Jean and Scott do have a psychic rapport with each other. They're like kind of bonded in that sense. Senses that he is in trouble and uses her psionic abilities to go there and enter Madeline Pryor's mind. And what you get from this is Jean's origin story, in a sense, where you get to see Xavier coming to get her from the Greys. And you get to see the precipitating event that made her powers emerge, the death of her friend Annie. And you get to see Madeline and Jean trying to figure out who's who. Because at this point, I'm calling her Madeline, but she still thinks she's Jean. She doesn't know. She doesn't have a name. She just knows she's Jean, as far as she knows. So they do battle on the astral plane, to which Jean is able to break Sinister's control on Madeline. And Madeline stops torturing the rest of the X-Men and invites Scott to come help her rescue their son. Now, the fight with Sinister is a bit brief. It's just him, it's a bit brief. It's kind of rushed through, but it's cool because you need the main idea to understand what happens. And what happens is Scott rescues Nathan from the vat, Sinister escapes, and by the time they get back to the mansion, the boy is breaking out with this, what looks like techno rash. They get him to Beast, and Beast investigating it. He does say it is a techno-organic virus, and that Sinister was possibly using it to make him invincible, which is true. And that because it is advancing so quickly, there's nothing that Beast can really do about it right now. It could take months, it could take a year to figure out what was done and how to stop it and reverse it, but it'll be too late for that kid by that time. So Madeline suggests or questions Bishop if there is a cure for this, or could he find a cure for this in his own time, because his wristband is fixed. He can go back to his own time. Bishop lets her know that he knows a guy, that there's a possibility. And Madeline and Scott realize what they're going to have to do. And Madeline decides, you have to send that boy into the future so he can have a future and not have us there. Now, this gets into another one of those stories that's really good in the X-Men run, and it gets into not only the Cable story of how Cable comes to be, but also the Red and Slim, the adventures of Red and Slim, which is Cyclops and Jean going into the future to protect Nathan, a little old version of Nathan. Now that's fun. They're not there yet. I don't think they'll get to it in this season or second season, maybe. I don't know. But the fact that Madeline and Scott are both there and they're realizing what they have to do, they have to give up their child. Scott can't do it. He walks out because he does not want to abandon his child as he feels Corsair did. Now, in Corsair's situation, Corsair was thought dead. Okay? He was thought dead. He saved his children, but he was thought dead. As the city you found out otherwise. He thought his kids were dead and he went off into space and didn't come back. Understandable. It's too much for Scott to take, so he leaves. And Madeline is the one who gives up her child to Bishop so Bishop can take him forward into the future to find some help for him. Now, before Nathan is sent into the future, Madeline has time with Nathan to psychically talk to him, let him know all this stuff that she wants him to know before she sends him off into the future. Once Bishop opens the rift, he's gone and he's out of the show. And Nathan is gone. Now, the wrap up to this is a bit more interesting because this is where you get the clone of Jean leaving and Jean Grey stopping her outside the gates of Xavier's School for the Gifted. And they have a conversation about what it means for them to be here. No, regular Jean does not have all her memories back. She doesn't. They can't really discern which memories are ones that one or the other created. They just have them all. But what Madeline holds to, or the clone Jean holds to, is that she knows she wants to leave Xavier's. She wants to go out into the world. And in going out into the world, she wants to define for herself who she is and what she's about. And she tells Jean her name is Madeline Pryor. She takes on that name and leaves the school, which is cool. It happened. It happened in the comics. It's fine happening here. But this made this episode, although it moved pretty fast, it made it more interesting because there was more going on with it. There's subtext all over the place with some other stuff, be it Rogue and Magneto or Robert and Jubilee. There was some other stuff going on in this episode too, and it was dropped in there. But the main story of Sinister coming a calling for that baby is there. Now, the last scene that we get is we catch up with Storm in Texas in a bar. She got the mohawk and a leather jacket, and she's just watching TV, and someone walks in and starts talking to her. Now, as soon as put it together, Texas, and the person starts talking to her about making it rain or something like that, I knew who it was. It's Forge, right? And sure enough, it's revealed to be Forge. Now, Forge, back in the day, had a relationship with Storm, right? Native American, he has a relationship with Storm. Now, in this episode, they're hinting at Forge having the ability to help Storm get her powers back, that he has been a friend of Xavier's, and Storm being there is why he's there. He wants to help her get her powers back. Now, that's kind of cool. I like Forge. Forge is a mutant inventor. If you tell him what it is, he can invent it out of anything. That's his mutant power, just to create, right? Given if he understands what he's supposed to be doing in a sense. But I'm all fine with Forge showing up. It gives you a little interesting juxtaposition where Bishop has gone and we get another, older minority man coming in. It's fun. I mean, Forge is useful. Forge and Beast are really useful. Forge, Beast, and Cypher are extremely useful. So I'm fine with that. I'm fine with seeing Forge show up. It gives me something to look forward to in coming episodes. But for this one, I have to say there was a lot more action in this one. But I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. Um, it was just what I thought would happen in this episode. So me getting a little bit of a spoiler didn't ruin it because I didn't know how they were going to do it. But actually going in and showing the Goblin Queen her powers, her disposition, and then eventually her walking away and walking her own route. I liked all of that. All of that worked for me. Mind you, and it was two lead female heroines, and I don't think anybody will be shitting on this episode. So I look forward to seeing episode 4. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know what it's going to be about, but I will be strapped in to my X chair to watch that episode. So that is it. That is my review of X-Men 97, episode 3, Fire Made Flesh. Like, share, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.